You'll be pleased to know that this is not going to be a long rambling video today. I did most of my complaining and got a lot of it off my chest last night on a live stream with Mr. Chris Carlin and a couple of others. So I managed to get it out of my system, and like most days I talk about it the day after rather than the day, because sometimes get a little bit emotional about it, even though it is only football. But I pretty much had everything I wanted to say last night. So but just to reiterate here for the purposes of my own channel, if nobody's seen the one with Chris or people don't watch live streams and stuff, my overarching view was that actually this was a better result than it was performance. The performance was better than it was at Palace, but then to be fair, there is no way, not in my opinion anyway, no way you can get a lot worse than that. However, excuse me, it's still not anywhere near the type of performance that we as Tottenham fans would want. Shots on target negligible, drive in midfield negligible, creativity negligible. We've kind of already said it. It feels a little bit like Groundhog Day in what I'm saying, but for me, I just feel that we are just so static. We're static, we're slow, we're side to side, back to front. There's no momentum, I guess is the word I'm looking for, in what we're doing. It's all very much just played in front of their two banks of four or whatever formation the other team's playing. So it is really concerning that that we can't get anywhere. I did think, to be fair, there were patches, and I called this out last night. There were patches where Tongai Ndombele, actually showed his quality, which I think is fantastic. If we can see a little bit of that a little bit more often, then maybe we would start going in the right direction. But he's got a long way to go for me in terms of proving that he's going to be doing that on a regular basis, and he can become a regular first team starter that's going to be the engine room of the team. His little flick that he did to keep the ball in play that led to the first goal with the mistake by the defender. Brilliant. Brilliant, not giving the ball up and really going for it. But for me, he kind of goes missing in games, and that's the worrying bit. He needs to be in the game more than he's out of the game and reacting in the way that he does. I mean, initially he looked like he was playing with a smile on his face, that he had the desire to show what he was about and that he had the right to be there. But then it just kind of faded. The more we were under pressure, the more it just faded, and the less and less and less that we saw of him. And that's a concern. It's not something you want to see. You need more from your star man, your most expensive player, than what we're getting at the moment. Although I do think there are some, glimmers in there along the way. The bigger concerns, obviously, injuries to Bergwijn, injuries to Lucas. That's not great. Not sure how bad they are, but not really what you want to see, especially when you're coming up against, Chelsea at the weekend. Harry's still not showing any kind of real fight or desire or quality at the moment. It's still early days from him. I mean, it was only last season was the first season that he actually scored in August. I don't know, we're in September, but he is a notoriously slow starter to the seasons, so maybe it's just getting used to it. Long summer, playing for England, international break, stop start, a bit of aggravation over whether he's staying, whether he's going. There's a lot of bits and pieces in that. That all those things kind of add up, but I think Nuno said it all when he said that he was concerned, and I think he should be. I think he really needs to start thinking about how we get some creativity into that team and some stability. I think, the injuries to Dyer and the problems with Sanchez don't help, because obviously that's his preferred back, centre-back pairing that were doing okay, albeit 3 games in. So to have to change that again, as that's not helpful. But I do think, Brian Hill showed a little bit yesterday, as the game went on, and after Bergwijn went off, you saw a lot more of him. He got a lot more into the game, and I thought that was good to see, that he had that, desire. Put a couple of half decent sort of runs together and kind of got into the box and stuff. It was just that final ball really that was missing. But as much as I don't like calling out individual players so much, Doherty's still having a nightmare, and he's far from the player that he was when he was with Wolves. And I called it out before. There is a player there. There's got to be, because otherwise clubs wouldn't pay the money for him. He wouldn't be a professional footballer, right? So he's obviously got ability, and we saw that in his Wolves days, but it's just not happening at Tottenham. And sometimes that happens. I mean, I can remember Stephen Pienaar, at Everton was really, really well thought of and playing really, really well. Came to Tottenham, had an abysmal time, absolutely abysmal time. Then went back to Everton, and it started to work for him again. I think Duncan Ferguson, someone going back that far, I think Duncan Ferguson did the same, went off to Newcastle, I think, and didn't do particularly well after having great years at Everton. And Newcastle were sort of fairly good in them days. So I think it does happen. Sometimes a player can fit into one club but not fit into another, and maybe that's just the same for Doherty. Maybe it's just not the right squad, club, whatever for him. So we'll just have to wait and see. But he's certainly not the preferred option. I guess when he brought Emerson on, Emerson Royal, instead of putting him further up the pitch, maybe you should have put him defensively and pushed Doherty further up. Play as a right winger or something. But his crossing it's just not happening. And I don't want to crucify one particular player, but it just don't seem to be happening for him at all. But in fairness to Rennes, I thought they played well. I thought their movement, certainly in front of our back four, was impressive, sharp, quick. There were some good ideas in there, some different plays and stuff like that. And if it wasn't for their poor finishing, a little bit like Palace, if it wasn't for their poor finishing, it could have looked a lot worse. So, great to see Højbjerg get his goal. Sorry, I'm just trying to watch the traffic. Højbjerg get his goal as well, just to get us back into the game. So to give us a reasonable result out of it all, which it could have looked an awful lot worse. So worrying times for the Tottenham faithful. Especially going into this weekend playing Chelsea. Going to be a tough game. Tough game. You can just see it, and I don't think anyone's up for it in terms of thinking that we're going to get a great result out of it. But if we can hold our own and play some decent football and if we're going to go down with fight, I think most of us will forgive that. I think it's if we go down in a whimper, being pathetic and having just a negative team out there that's playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. I think that's what gets fans' backs up, and I think it's going to be a difficult day at White Hart Lane for the players and for the manager if it comes out and he plays super negative football. I can see the crowd getting right on their back, and then that translates into bad feeling on the pitch as well. So anyway, I am now starting to ramble, I think, coming up to 10 minutes. So apologies, it went on probably a little bit longer than you expected when I started. Anyway, hopefully see some of you at White Hart Lane on Sunday, and we cheer on the team. Up the Spurs.